My dad's letters revealed he cheated on my mom while she was pregnant with me. After years of ignorance, I learned his guilt and regret. Now, I struggle with the truth about the man I once viewed as a hero. How can I reconcile this? For context, I am 25 years old, and my father passed away in 2007 when I was 8 years old. Some time ago, my brother mentioned discovering letters in the basement alongside my father's belongings, which included items my grandmother sent us that belonged to my dad. The letters, originally intended for my mother, were copied by my grandmother so she could keep the originals and provide my mother with the copies. Well, yesterday my brother visited to discuss his girlfriend, and I am uncertain how the topic arose, but he brought up the letters. I inquired about their contents, and he revealed that our father wrote about his diabetes and how he cheated on our mother. I was taken aback and exclaimed, "What?" He responded, "Wait, I thought you knew." I was shocked and replied, "No, I did not." He then indicated that he assumed I was aware, but I reminded him that I had never read the letters he mentioned a few years ago, which he had photographed but never showed to me. However, he did show them to my mother. I felt somewhat excluded from this information. He stated that our father cheated on our mother at a party or something while she was pregnant with one of us. I asked him which one, but he was unsure. So my brother read the letters to me before sending the rest. They are dated 3 months before I was born. My father cheated on my mother while she was pregnant with me. In those letters, my father expressed his guilt and shame and the regret he felt for hurting her and betraying her trust. He mentioned that they had taken a break at that time after he confessed what he had done. He wrote about the baby me. He referenced birthing classes and his eagerness to see me, wondering if I would look at him with trust and mend their hearts. He said he would do anything to demonstrate that I could trust him and assured my mother that he would not let me down. He never specified what exactly happened, but he acknowledged wronging my mother. He recounted that my mother told him, "It hurts to love you." He described seeing the pain in her eyes as they sat on her couch discussing work and her parents just 2 days before the baby shower. He recognized the sadness and pain he was inflicting upon her in the letters. He mentioned church, God, and his reverend, who told him that God forgives and forgets if one confesses their sins to him, assuring him that when you confess, you become a new person. As I listened to my brother read all of this, I found myself in tears, the emotions overwhelming me. What hurt even more was the conversation I had with my mother later that night. When I brought up the letters, she had forgotten them, so I reminded her, and her eyes filled with tears when I asked if my father cheated on her. She replied yes, then informed me that he had cheated on her throughout their entire marriage, possibly even while they were dating. She explained that my father had a sex addiction and that he cheated on her while she was pregnant with both me and my brother. Her mention of a sex addiction recalled something she had said to my brother a few years prior while I was sitting in the living room at my mother's house. My mother and brother entered, conversing, and as they passed by me, I heard my mother mention sex addiction or porn addiction. I asked them what they were discussing, but my mother dismissed it, saying, "Oh, it's nothing. I will tell you when you are older." Considering that I am older than my brother, I was confused as to why he was privy to something while I had to wait. I remember inquiring why and urging her to just tell me. She insisted it was really nothing and promised to explain later. Now, I am realizing that my brother was talking to her about the letters while she was imparting what happened to him. He sat on this information for years without telling me, leaving me the last person to know. Now, it feels as if my world is crumbling around me. This man whom I have looked up to and loved, whom I considered my hero my whole life, this man I believed could do no wrong who loved my mother so deeply cheated on her repeatedly throughout their relationship. I asked her why she stayed, and my heart shattered further. My mother told me she endured it for us, that she would have done anything for us. I love my father, I do. Life was not easy growing up. My mother kept the house after the divorce, so during my father's week with us, we would all sleep in the same bed in the RV he purchased. Then we shared a room in his apartment. He would become angry, and with his diabetes, he would experience low blood sugar and have convulsions, often on the kitchen floor sometimes while driving, even crashing into one of those vacuums at a car wash. They now have a cinder block surrounding it, and every time I see it, I recall that my father did that. Another time, he went low at his apartment, and I found him convulsing on the kitchen floor while my brother and I were too small to reach the cupboards and didn't know what to do. While he could get very angry, he never hurt me. He frightened me at times, yes, but he never harmed me. I loved him then, and I continue to love him. My brother feels the same. I just feel nauseous right now. At the apartment, my father also instructed us not to leave the room at night for any reason, telling us that if we needed water or had to use the bathroom, we should hold it until morning because cockroaches emerged only at night. While staying there, I never left the room after dark. The only exception was when I discovered my father convulsing on the kitchen floor, but even then, I was terrified of the cockroaches. Looking back, there were never any cockroaches. My parents divorced due to the stress of this situation and my father's attitude towards her when he was low, in addition to the cheating. I remember playing in the backyard with a friend when we were set to have a sleepover that night. We were running around when my father called for me from the back porch. He and my mother had been arguing, and he chose to involve me by loudly asking how I would feel if my parents got a divorce. I cried. I was too young to even understand what divorce meant, and my mother sent my friend home, which made me cry harder. Later, I spoke to my mother after our initial conversation. After I called my brother to share the news and chatted a little more with my mother to gather more details, I learned that the party during which my father cheated on my mother mentioned by my brother occurred at their old apartment. There was a pool party. My mother and my father were swimming when my father exited to speak with a woman. He then left with her. A man approached my mother, but she informed him she was married. He asked her what she thought he was doing at that moment, and she confidently replied, "Nothing, because I trust him." He cheated on her that night. The woman lived in the same building, was aware of his pregnant wife, parked her car beside my father's, and even once complained about her useless boyfriend, which led my mother, the saint that she is, to offer the woman a place to sleep on their couch. Sometime after this affair, my father revealed it to her, and they took a break. He then wrote a series of letters over the course of a week. They are difficult to read, not solely due to his handwriting. It hurts to read them, knowing what he did and how he attempts to apologize and profess his love, along with the guilt and shame he experiences. Knowing he continued to cheat on her leaves me feeling lost. It's as if discovering Santa isn't real. I once shared a story from Reddit about infidelity and asked my mother if she had ever been cheated on, and she had this look in her eyes when she said yes. I asked who it was, and upon hearing his name, she became visibly uncomfortable and explained that she didn't want to discuss it. I later discovered the reason she was hesitant to talk was that the person who cheated on her was my father. Now, I find myself lying here, writing this at 2 a.m., now 3 a.m., and I am unsure how to feel. It is that sensation of believing you know someone only to realize you knew nothing at all. There were probably more signs, but as a child, I was naive and blind to them, especially towards a person I held complete trust. The signs are difficult to recognize because why would you question someone you love? Surely, they would not hurt you like that. Surely, they are perfect. Growing up involves coming to terms not only with mortality, but also the realization that things you thought you understood were lies. The truth is you know nothing. They present themselves as they wish to be seen and control how you perceive them. With age, you begin to see their human flaws more clearly. No one is perfect. No one's life is flawless. Nobody is truly happy. A smile can be feigned, a laugh may be forced, kindness can be insincere, and sadness might be concealed like the secrets that cause so much suffering. Sometimes, it can be hidden extremely well if one is accustomed to it. My father, whom I regarded as my hero, who appeared to be the strongest person I knew, someone I trusted, whom I believed could do no wrong, was, in reality, a serial cheater struggling with a severe sex addiction. It was an aspect of his life he worked hard to conceal from his children, but could not hide from his wife. This secret ultimately ruined their marriage and now affects how I view him. I love him, yet I feel nauseated. I feel so sick. Has anyone else experienced something similar? Did you find a way to forgive them? Can you forgive them? I feel as if I am going insane. I'm unsure where to share this. I might delete it later. My mother and brother use Reddit. However, for now, I will leave it up. I just need to speak with someone who has been through a similar situation or knows a family member or has a parent struggling with a sex addiction, alive or deceased. My father is gone. He had a seizure that led to a heart attack after taking too much insulin before bed. It was his weekend, and he never arrived. He died alone. I am not suggesting he took his own life, but for someone who administered insulin every day and night, how could he make such a mistake? He was depressed. He saw us the night before, helping to decorate our Christmas tree at my mother's house. It was his weekend the following day. My mind keeps telling me he may have done it knowingly, understanding he would be found quickly since it was his scheduled time with us. My mother was the one who discovered him after his workplace called her because he did not show up, and she was unable to reach him about pickup. I have a copy of his autopsy report, which states they weighed his brain. I believe he was an organ donor. I apologize for rambling. I just do not know how to experience this emotions, or when I do feel, I experience it all at once, resulting in tears shed for the realization that I never truly knew my father. I apologize for this. I will try to sleep now, but I will attempt to respond in the morning if anyone replies. Good night. Story 2. How can I, 28F, get over the hurt my fiancé, 27M, put me through almost 5 years ago when he was going through a rough time, and actually was? Hello everyone. I am a 28-year-old female seeking advice on how to address the intense emotions I have been experiencing for several years. I would like to clarify that I have discussed posting about this with my fiancé, who is 27 years old and male, and I have his permission to share my thoughts. Please be kind, as I am exposing my vulnerabilities in this post. I would like to add a note that my fiancé may be on the autism spectrum. He exhibits many symptoms but does not wish to be tested, although he acknowledges that he may be autistic. Now for the background. My fiancé is a type 1 diabetic. Before 2021, he relied on manual insulin injections and blood glucose monitoring. Around Christmas in 2020, he came to my home to assist me in setting up and wrapping Christmas gifts for my daughter from a previous relationship. That night, his blood sugar was dropping, but after we ate, it started to rise again. We assumed the drop was due to the physical effort of assembling numerous toys. He left my house very late, around 3 or 4 a.m., texted me when he got home, and then I didn't hear from him the following day. This was unusual for him, but I thought he might be immersed in video gaming after completing his gaming PC build. By 7 or 8 p.m. the next day, when he had not answered my texts or calls, I became concerned and called his family members who live with him to check on him. They found him incoherent, rambling, and confused about his identity. He was insisting that his name was a random one. They called for an ambulance, and his blood sugar levels had plummeted to 20. The emergency room physician informed me that if he had arrived an hour later, he would not have survived. He sustained some brain damage affecting his short-term memory. I took an Uber and rushed to the emergency room to be with him that first night, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, I had to leave when he was finally admitted in the morning. While we were in the emergency room together, I tore pieces of bread and hand-fed him, ensuring he drank orange juice to raise his blood sugar. When his family visited, he did not recognize his parents or his brother, who is one of the most important people in his life. When I asked if he knew who I was, he replied, "Your name is just a name, but I love you." He spent about 5 days in the hospital and was discharged the day after Christmas. I rushed to see him. I affectionately referred to him as 10-Second Tom from the movie 50 First Dates because he would repeat the same conversation immediately after we finished it. It required a lot of rehabilitation, but by mid-April 2021, he had returned to being normal. He did continue to struggle with memory issues for several more months, but not nearly as severely. It was more like needing a detailed grocery list with pictures and instructions rather than repeating the same topic of conversation several times in a row. Now, regarding my feelings. During his recovery, he essentially reverted to a childlike state, moving between his divorced parents' homes, unable to drive, and buried under numerous medical appointments. Communication via texts and calls was scarce, which drove me to frustration. We were, in essence, in a long-distance relationship despite being just an hour apart. I suspect I might have borderline personality disorder, but that is only a personal assumption. By late May, I let my emotions get the best of me and lashed out. Although I cannot recall the exact words, I know I was rude and unpleasant. It was not overtly derogatory, but I certainly sounded snappy, probably peppered with some expletives that were directed not at him, but rather concerning the situation. And tension was already high due to the distance and minimal communication for months. We had only seen each other once since he had been released from the hospital, and we typically exchanged about 5 messages a day without any phone calls because he was preoccupied. He was ready to give up on our relationship. I visited his house on his birthday in early June, and we discussed our relationship. I am his first everything. As we talked, it felt as if I were conversing with a stranger. He lacked sensitivity toward my feelings and was blunt, stating he did not know if he loved me and expressing a desire to have sexual encounters with other people because he had never experienced it before. He questioned how he could know I was the one when potentially better options might exist, making it feel like I was cornered and he was emotionally attacking me. Many other hurtful comments were made, but this was what resonated with me the most. He appeared cold and annoyed at even having this discussion with me, almost as though he derived pleasure from inflicting pain, though I could be wrong about that. This was the same man who, less than a year earlier, would express deep affection for me, whom his friends referred to as a doormat, who brought me care packages when I was ill, and who referred to my daughter as our daughter. I pleaded with him for time to become a better partner, displaying a level of desperation that was almost pathetic. At that juncture, we were nearing 4 years in our relationship, and I genuinely loved this man, even when he was aggressively confronting me emotionally. All I wanted was for him to fall in love with me again. He agreed that we could work on our issues together, but I was terrified with every action, thought, and word, fearing I would say the wrong thing. I felt as though I was walking on eggshells. Afterwards, I went home, leaving my daughter with my parents. I drank heavily, resulting in a blackout, followed by tears and more tears. I have a history of depression with self-harm tendencies, and when I awoke the next morning, I had inflicted self-harm on my arm, which would be challenging to conceal in June in one of the hottest states in the United States. Part of me contemplates whether he stayed with me because of this, as we agreed to put effort into visiting each other again, and I saw him just a few days later wondering if my actions might have subconsciously manipulated him. However, I digress. I cannot dwell on that thought too much, or I will spiral. In a few months, we seemed to bounce back. We moved in together in January 2022. He proposed in October 2022, about a month after I discovered I was pregnant with our son. He did not propose simply because I was pregnant. He had actually purchased the ring 2 months prior and was trying to determine when and how to propose. We welcomed our son in May 2023, and we are scheduled to get married this October. He displays genuine remorse. He is deeply apologetic for his behavior and the person he became after the medical emergency. Every time I bring it up, he expresses sincere apologies. Initially, he was defensive, stating he felt like a dog being rubbed in the mess he had made, claiming that it was a hard time for him, and he was reevaluating his entire life and who he wanted to have in it. Curiously, I was the sole person on the chopping block whom he considered cutting from his life, not his toxic friend, who inquired about when he would be moving back in with his uncle to create a comfortable space for playing Dungeons & Dragons, or the friend group who relied on him for transportation, but derisively referred to him using the R slur when he couldn't remember anything due to his medical crisis. Every time I think about this, I still feel angry. However, when I candidly expressed that it was a traumatic experience for me as well, that I had nearly lost him and was the one who alerted people to save his life, only to feel sidelined due to his desire to engage with someone new, it deeply hurt me. That was the turning point where he altered his approach to this discussion. He now offers comfort, reassures me, apologizes, and inquires how he can help me feel more secure, but I am at a loss for how to proceed. He has returned to his previous self after the incident. In fact, in his day-to-day life, he is arguably even better than he was prior to the event. He has shown significant personal growth. Although he had flaws before, he has made concerted efforts to resolve our issues and improve himself. I will refrain from elaborating on this aspect since it may not be pertinent to this discussion, apart from showcasing his development. Before expressing how traumatic the experience was for me, I suppressed that feeling. It seemed inappropriate to claim I was traumatized as well. I did not face death. I did not lose my memory. Nor was I learning to use an insulin pump or continuous glucose monitor for the first time while trying to adjust to a completely new lifestyle. I recognize it is not a competition for trauma. Nevertheless, I always felt that if I voiced my feelings about the incident, I would detract from his medical emergency and make it about myself. I anticipate receiving recommendations for couples therapy, and believe me, I would love to participate, but our work schedules, children's schedules, and his school schedule, as he is in vocational training, leave us with no available time. We genuinely share only half a day off together because he has work on one day and trades school on the same day. That's when we attempt to complete all of our errands and doctor's appointments. I tend to prioritize everyone else above myself, which frustrates him, but the well-being of my children and his health concerning his diabetes take precedence. Therefore, if anyone has insights, suggestions, or actions I can take independently or with him, without involving a therapist, I would be immensely grateful. To summarize, I am a 28-year-old female who harbors a lot of unresolved hurt stemming from a serious medical emergency my fiancé, a 27-year-old male, endured when he almost left me during the most challenging times, using the excuse of wanting sexual experiences with other women, among other reasons. Things have improved, and he is genuinely remorseful, yet I struggle to move on from these feelings and seek options to address them at home, as we are unable to attend couples counseling. Story 3. My friend manipulated the situation, made me look like the villain, and now my friendships are falling apart. Hello, Reddit. I am a 23-year-old female, and I genuinely need an outside perspective on a complicated situation that has arisen within my friend group. I will attempt to explain everything clearly, but I apologize in advance for the lengthy post. Allow me to provide a brief introduction to everyone involved. My name is your name. I am 23 years old, female. Mia is a 23-year-old female, and my friend, Sarah, is a friend of Mia's and Lana's. I am not very close with her. And Lana is a 23-year-old female who is friends with everyone. Ryan is a 23-year-old male who is interested in Mia. Here is the situation. Ryan has had an interest in Mia for years. However, Mia has played a dual role. In front of us, she consistently acted as though Ryan's attention annoyed her and that she did not want to be involved with him, except perhaps to remain neutral or be a friend. She even claimed that she had a serious conversation with him about this. Recently, however, Ryan mentioned to me that that conversation never occurred. Mia never discussed the matter with him, and Ryan was genuinely surprised to learn that she had supposedly set boundaries. About a year ago, Ryan contacted me because he was confused and hurt. He did not know how to handle his feelings for Mia, and he did not trust Sarah or Lana, as he felt they were around him solely to gather information for Mia. This was indeed true, as after each class, all the girls in our friend group would gather and gossip about what Ryan had said to them. He sought my advice, and even though I was not very close to him, I offered my honest thoughts from an outsider's perspective. I aimed to assist him as a neutral party. It is important to note that I do not consider him a friend, but I advised him against having romantic feelings toward a girl who is already in a relationship. It may have been wrong not to inform Mia about our conversation, but Ryan made me promise to keep it confidential, and I wanted to avoid any drama. Unfortunately, a year later, Lana and I were alone in a classroom when she expressed her confusion about why Ryan was not giving Mia the same attention as before. I made a mistake and revealed my conversation with Ryan to Lana. She was shocked to learn that Ryan had finally moved on after a year. However, we did not discuss it further, and I asked her not to tell anyone, as I was already feeling guilty for slipping up and revealing information about Ryan. She did not keep my secret. She went home and twisted my words, informing Mia that I had said Mia hated Ryan and that she constantly talked poorly about him to us. This is not true. I only provided Ryan with an outsider's perspective, advising him not to develop any romantic feelings for Mia because she had been in a long-term relationship for 9 years. However, Mia did not ask me anything, and I was unaware of Lana's deception. 2 weeks later, Ryan messaged me to thank me for my support, stating that he had finally moved on. He expressed gratitude for my advice during his difficult time when he was struggling with his family issues, including those surrounding Mia, and mentioned that he had secured a small job. However, A problem arose regarding Sarah. Sarah has a tendency to stir things up and would go to any lengths for gossip. For the past 4 to 5 months, she unexpectedly became close to Ryan, calling him her best friend and constantly bothering him with questions like, "Why are you ignoring Mia?" Or "Why don't you talk to Mia?" She even made a fuss if Ryan accidentally glanced at Mia during class. Considering our class has only 20 to 25 students, this became quite awkward for Ryan. He contacted me to express his discomfort with Sarah's questions. I thought I should talk to Lana since I had already confided in her, and I do not have a close relationship with Sarah, so I believed Lana could mediate between us. However, Lana suggested that we should talk to Mia instead. She claimed that Mia deserved the truth, effectively manipulating me to inform Mia. The three of us, Lana, Mia, and I, entered a WhatsApp call. Before I could say anything, Mia accused me of ruining her reputation and sabotaging her friendship with Ryan. She stated that Lana had told her I had spoken to Ryan and disparaged her by saying she hated him and any attention from him, which I never did. I only offered an outsider's perspective, and I never hinted at anything to maintain the peace. During our conversation, I tried to defend myself and explain that I was not responsible for the misunderstandings she had heard. I also confronted Lana, but she twisted the narrative and attempted to shift the blame onto me. I maintained my ground and asked her if I had specifically told her that Mia had spoken poorly about Ryan, or if I had merely provided an outsider's perspective. After that, Lana changed her tone, telling Mia that she was misinterpreting things, but Mia did not accept this explanation. She continued to blame me for potentially trying to sabotage her reputation and friendship with Ryan before hanging up the call. Things became even messier. Mia reached out to me via text, and instead of clarifying or asking for my side of the story, she accused me of bad-mouthing her and attempting to ruin her friendship with Ryan. She even claimed to have proof that I was spreading rumors about her. This was hurtful because I had never done anything to betray Mia. In fact, I was aware of several instances where Mia had lied, yet I never revealed them because I did not want to hurt her. I defended Mia when anyone in our class made even slightly negative comments about her. She tends to exaggerate situations and has had conflicts with nearly everyone in our class, but fortunately, she resolves them later. The truth is, I knew numerous things about Mia that could tarnish her perfect reputation, but I never mentioned any of it or even let her know that I was aware. I should provide a few examples of relevant events. There was another guy, whom I will refer to as Liam. He was also in our class and had an interest in me. Liam and I share similar dark humor and thoughts, but I was already in a long-term serious relationship. Once I realized that Liam's feelings for me were more than friendly and crossed a boundary, I immediately spoke to him. I made it clear that nothing would happen and began distancing myself. I informed Mia of this, ensuring that Liam did not hold any grudge against me so that things would not become awkward. One day, Liam and I were having a casual conversation in the corridor when Mia saw us. Later that day, she confronted me, saying that if I knew someone was interested in me, I should not be friends with them. This is ironic because she is currently doing the exact opposite. I attempted to explain, but she gave me disappointed looks and avoided me, and I did not take it personally. I laughed it off and moved on. He is now in a happy relationship with a girl from our class, whom I encouraged him to approach. Returning to the main issue, Mia later texted me, stating that I needed to fix my attitude and the way I communicate with people. At this point, I began to realize that our friendship was irreparable. What hurt the most was Mia's refusal to trust me enough to hear my side of the story before accusing me of things I had not done. Furthermore, she started calling Ryan, asking him questions like, "How could you do this to me? And why didn't you wish me a happy birthday?" Lana and Sarah also began calling Ryan in the middle of the night to demand an explanation for why he chose to ignore Mia. Ryan later called me to assure me that I should not feel guilty, as I had merely tried to help him. He expressed gratitude for being the only person who supported him without attempting to manipulate the situation. Now, Mia, Lana, Sarah, and even Maria, another friend who was close to me yet uninvolved in this situation, are all ignoring me. Maria was one of my closest friends, and I was her first friend when she joined our group. I do not understand why she has turned her back on me as well. Sarah, with whom I previously had no real issues, is now acting as though I do not exist. For me, trust is essential in any friendship. I feel deeply upset because Mia did not trust me enough to talk to me first and clarify things before making assumptions. Consequently, I have severed all forms of communication with her. I already told her that even if she scolds me for anything, I would not feel hurt, but trust is something I seek in every relationship, including friendships. I feel as though I am being portrayed as the villain in a situation where I was merely trying to help. Perhaps ending the friendship makes me seem like a jerk, but as I mentioned, if she cannot trust me to ask me first, then I cannot assist her with that. Please feel free to criticize me if you wish, but I need an opinion. I acknowledge that I was wrong for slipping up. Perhaps I should have spoken to Mia without considering someone I am not even close friends with. Am I the jerk for feeling upset? Did I handle this situation incorrectly?